Hello and welcome. My name's Ben. This is To The Point English, where I give you lots of tips to help you pass the Cambridge English exams. And today we're looking at the listening paper. Now, whether you're preparing for the FCE, the CAE or the CPE, so that the first, the advanced or the proficiency, the listening part of the exam for many people is the most challenging for a number of reasons. So in this video, I'm going to give you 6 tips in order to help you not only pass, but get the best score possible in this paper. Okay, let's do this. Now, the first 2 tips I'm giving today are regarding the preparation, so what to do before the exam in order to be as prepared as possible. And the other 4 tips are regarding what you need to do during the exam at the moment that you're sitting in the exam center listening to the audio. So the first tip today is listen to boring podcasts and radio programs. Now, this kind of goes against all my instincts as an English teacher, because I usually recommend to my students who are not preparing for exams just to enjoy the process as much as possible. Listen to things that they find interesting and fun to motivate themselves. But in the listening paper of the Cambridge exams, you will have quite long audio extracts about subjects which you may not find particularly interesting. And it's very important to stay focused all through this part of the exam. So if your preparation only involves listening to things you like, things you find entertaining, then when it comes to the exam, you're not going to be prepared. You may switch off or get distracted. For example, if you like gardening, then you can listen to a podcast on gardening and you'll be motivated to pay attention throughout the podcast. But I would recommend that you listen to podcasts on architecture if you find architecture boring, or engineering, or I don't know, particular areas of medicine. It's the best way to practice being focused for long periods of time listening to something you're not really interested in. Because, as I said, if you don't do that, when it's time to sit down in the exam and listen to these audios, you may be surprised and find it difficult to concentrate. So yeah, as I said, when you finish the exams, listen to things you enjoy, just enjoy learning English. But to prepare for the exam, listen to boring podcasts and radio programs. And tip number 2 is listen to everything in English. So of course, specifically make the effort to listen to boring podcasts and radio programs. But apart from that, listen to everything in English. It should be obvious, it goes without saying, but put your favorite series in English. It's very easy now with modern technology. Just change the language. With subtitles or without subtitles, the important thing is just to have everything in English. Every film you watch, every series you watch, every podcast you listen to, every YouTube video you watch should be in English while you're preparing for the exam. But not only that, you have to pay attention. It's not enough just having everything in English if you don't really pay attention. Think about the vocabulary you're hearing. Think about the pronunciation. Think about the grammar. And listen for detail. In the exam, you'll need to listen for detail in some of the parts of the listening. So practice that while you're watching your series. Just pay extra attention and listen for detail. Now, the next tip is for when you're in the exam. So on the day of the exam, at the time of the listening, it's to read the questions carefully. Now, this is important because many people forget to do this. They're so concentrated on listening, or maybe they're very nervous and it's a stressful situation, that they forget to really read the questions carefully, really pay attention to what is written. Sometimes the questions can be quite confusing. You have to really work out what exactly they're asking. And the options, if you have a multiple choice option, you need to understand what they're asking for. You will have some seconds before the audio starts to read the questions. Sometimes it's not enough, but practice that by trying to read quickly and really pay attention, really focus on what the questions are asking of you. And tip number 4 is eliminate or discard. So in some of the listening parts, you will have multiple choice options. So you have 4 options, a question, and then 4 options. The first time you hear, remember you always have 2 chances to listen to the audio. The first time you may have no idea, you may be completely lost, but stay calm, because the second time usually things start to become clearer. But sometimes they're not clearer. Sometimes you think, oh, I have no idea. I didn't hear what the answer was. I'm completely lost. And that's where eliminating can be useful, because you may not know which option is correct, but you may know which options are not correct. Now, of course, normally out of 4 options, you have a 25% chance, or a 1 in 4 chance of getting the right answer. But if you can reduce those odds by eliminating a couple, or maybe 3, if possible, 3 of the options that you just think they're just definitely wrong. You could think, I definitely didn't hear anything about that, or maybe I heard something, but it wasn't exactly saying that. If you just eliminate 1, then that increases your chances of getting the answer correct. If you can eliminate 2, then you have a 50-50 chance, of course, of getting the answer correct. And often you can actually eliminate 3, and then, as I said, although you're not sure which option was correct, if you've eliminated 3 of the options, then obviously the one you have left is probably correct. So yeah, think about eliminating as a strategy in the multiple choice part of the listening. And tip number 5 is don't be easily tricked. Now, the Cambridge English exams like to try to trick you, to fool you, to lead you into thinking that one answer is correct when it's actually another answer. So what you're listening for is very similar to the reading here. You're listening for synonyms, not the same word. So in the question and in the multiple choice answers, you will see some key words. You have to identify what the key words are. And you may hear those key words in the audio, but you probably won't. You'll probably hear a synonym, but you'll see sometimes the key word in the answer, and that's probably not the right answer. Okay, let me explain with an example, it's better. So imagine that the speaker says this in the exam. I don't agree with experts who repeatedly insist on the theory that climate change is the most important challenge facing the world today. Okay, and the question you have is, what is the speaker's opinion on climate change? Okay, and let's just look at 2 options here, not the 4 options, just so we have a clear example. So option A is, it's the most important challenge facing the world today. Or B, its impact is exaggerated by scientists. Now, of course, the speaker literally said, climate change is the most important challenge facing the world today. So you could think, oh, that's the answer. A, it's the most important challenge facing the world today. But that's a bit too obvious, isn't it? That if you're just repeating exactly the same words, you can probably eliminate that option. Because what the speaker actually said, if you go back further, is that I don't agree. And those are the key words here. That's saying it's the opposite of what he's going to say. So I don't agree with experts who repeatedly insist on the theory that the climate change is the most important challenge facing the world today. That's quite a simple, basic example. And in the real exam, it may be a little bit more complex and complicated than that. But you can see that if you have the same words in the listening as in the question, it's probably not the answer. So be very careful with that. Don't be easily tricked. And my last tip today, tip number 6, is stay focused. Now, this is really a tip I give for the whole exam because it's very important to stay focused always. But it's particularly important in the listening because if you get distracted, if you start thinking about the football match at the weekend or what you're going to have for dinner, you're going to miss something. And although you get 2 chances with the audio, you need to be focused for both of those listenings. If you're not paying attention, then you're going to get lost. So it's more important to stay focused here in this part of the exam than any other part of the exam. Okay, and just one bonus tip, and it's quite obvious really, but you should practice with sample papers. So find audios. On YouTube, there are many examples of real exams, past exams, that listening exercises that you can do. So do as many of those as possible. Maybe you have an exercise book that you're using with audio. It's very important because you need to develop a strategy and get used to listening for detail, listening for the general idea. It's practice, 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 practice. Okay, thank you for joining me. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Take care. Bye.